is no standard normal. Normal is subjective, and there are 7 billion versions of normal on this planet. Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me here today. If you're new, I'm Amanda. Welcome to the channel where we are all about shattering the mental health stigma. If you haven't already, please make sure you make sweet, sweet love to that subscribe button. Give the bell a few kisses so you're not missing any of this content designed to help you with your mental health or help you help someone else. Now, anyone that knows me knows that I have been on an absolute high for the last year or so, with NSYNC coming out with new music and Bye 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 hitting the charts again after almost a quarter century and a potential tour on the horizon. And anyone who gives me anything NSYNC related is immediately my BFF. That's why I'm so over the moon to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Temu, who sent me this adorable shirt. Now, I know NSYNC might not be your jam. That's okay. I will forgive you. We can still be friends. But I added some stuff to my top picks that I know you will love. New app users can get any of those products for $1, and all users will get a $100 coupon bundle. We've got Metallica, Slipknot, Five Finger Death Punch, Nightwish, Linkin Park, Disturbed. Wanted to make sure that we had a lot of the fan favorites here on the channel. And also I threw in a few girly pieces for my ladies in the audience. These elegant leaf-shaped long tassel crystal earrings. I thought that they were going to be super chintzy because of the price. That's just been my experience, but they look really elegant. I've got so many compliments on them already, and they're definitely going to be a staple in my wardrobe from now on. And I also got this heart tank top, which tank tops almost always are really unflattering on me. They hang down too low under the armpits, or they're just very baggy on the sides. But this one is super adorable, and it's definitely going to be something that I wear frequently to the gym. There's free shipping on items shipped from Temu, free returns for up to 90 days, and if you order something and the price drops within 30 days, you can request a partial refund. To take advantage of this flash sale and snag some merch from your favorite bands, download the Temu app, search my code DPY5387, use my link in the description, or scan my QR code. Thank you so much, Temu, for allowing me to have my giddy teeny bopper moment and for sponsoring this video. Today I'm diving back into my new therapy fails series. This is the third video of that series where I've just been analyzing different therapy horror stories that you guys have been sending me, talking about what went wrong and what could have been done differently, how things could have been done better. Keep in mind that not every therapy story is a success, and that has nothing to do with you. Some therapists just are not operating under ethical guidelines, and not every therapist is a good match for every person. So today we are going to be starting with a story from the TikTok user splotchmaker.
I'm gonna tell you the worst experience I ever had with a therapist, and I promise you are not ready for it. To set the scene, I had just lost my childhood cat. He had just passed away. And my therapist I had seen for months and months. I won't even get into what the weekly sessions were like. But so you're grieving, you're crying, it's heavy, it's wild, and you've already talked to this therapist at length about it, about anticipatory grief. You're crying, processing, and she just looks off camera in the middle of you talking and talks to her child. No.
HIPAA violation
You have
much?
to eat your veggies before you eat your dessert. Veggies. It
is heartbreaking to see someone open up about such a painful loss to be so casually dismissed, because losing a pet is losing a family member, and that should be treated with empathy and respect. And they were already talking about how upsetting this was for her, going through that anticipatory grief, which is a real thing. That's the grief leading up to the actual loss. And it's something that can be very helpful to prepare someone for that loss of someone close to them, so that they can start getting in that mindset. So maybe they can say their final farewells or have those final rituals with that person. It can be very helpful, but if you're in a setting that's so dismissive, that's not taking it seriously, and it sounds like she'd already had bad experiences with her other sessions prior to this one, it can actually make it worse, because you're opening up, you're talking about this, and then when you get to that point, you're not prepared. You haven't had this person guide you to there. And let's be clear that you're never really prepared to lose someone. It's still going to be very, very painful, but it might take the edge off. It might make you feel like you have a little bit more closure. The therapist's behavior here, looking off camera, interacting with a child that our girlie's right should not be there. That is a HIPAA violation to have someone else in the room, even if it is a child. That is a violation that is going against her rights to privacy. But also, therapy should be a safe place where the focus is entirely on the client, particularly in moments of grief. This kind of blatant disregard not only invalidates this girl's pain, but it's also eroding the trust in the therapeutic relationship.
At that point, I was like, what the hell?
I would have been too.
I was just flabbergasted at the disrespect. There was no, one, why is there a child in the room with you? HIPAA. Two, without saying anything, in the middle of talking, when I'm crying, multiple times over. Not an emergency, obviously, just wanting them to eat their veggies before they eat whatever the fuck they're eating. And then, like, the next session. So, therapy sessions are 50 minutes, right? We were, like, 15 minutes in. And this woman looks at me and says, hey, can we cut the session a little short today? I want to make my kid mac and cheese.
What? Excuse me, ma'am?
It was 15 minutes. It wasn't like, can we cut it 5 minutes short? She was talking about then. She was talking about right then. Mind you, I am in the throes of grief. My perfect angel baby is gone. After this, I literally stopped going to her. I just completely ghosted, pretty much.
I would have too.
I think I continued to go maybe like once or twice more, but I was just like, whoa.
All right, in most therapeutic settings, a client pays for a full session, which is between 45 minutes and an hour. If a therapist cuts that session short, it's effectively denying the client the full service that them or their insurance company paid for. Even if we give the therapist the benefit of a doubt here that maybe she had someone reschedule her childcare last minute and she wasn't able to find someone else before this session, she still should not have continued with this session with somebody else present who is going to be dividing her attention. But at the very least, she should have offered to refund the session or give another full session at no additional cost. This situation would make anyone feel like they're being shortchanged financially and emotionally. I would honestly seek a different therapist because there's no coming back from this.
It was impossible to find any information. And I don't know, because she was a LCSW and not an LPC, so reporting to the board was weird. I couldn't find anything like that, but anyway, what wild therapy experiences have you had? Have you had anything similar? Anything absolutely buck wild like that? Anyway, now I'm in the second year of grad school to be a therapist. I've seen clients since September. Never in a million years. Never in a million years.
I love that for her, that she is now becoming a therapist herself, because she will do better. She will make sure to be present for her clients. She will make sure to give them the best care. And hopefully through her schooling, she can learn some things about processing grief. She can learn some things that will help her in her own journey. I know that's been my experience as I've been getting a degree in forensic psychology. I'm almost done with my bachelor's, and it's been very helpful in my own healing and also the way I show up for other people. I do want to touch on her experience with reporting here, because there is a difference between how you would report an LCSW, or a licensed clinical social worker, and a LPC, a licensed professional counselor, in that a licensed clinical social worker would be reported to the state's social work licensing board, while a licensed professional counselor, an LPC, would be reported to the state's counseling board. Both boards investigate complaints related to violation of professional ethics. So this can be breach of confidentiality, inappropriate relationships, or failure to maintain professional boundaries. And the process is typically going to involve submitting a detailed report of the incident, of what happened, and after which the board is going to conduct an investigation and take disciplinary action if necessary. I applaud her for taking action to report. It is important that this step is taken if you are violated in this way, so that they can't go on to violate other people in similar manners, because clearly if this happened through multiple of her sessions, it's happening to other people as well. And like I said, people that are going to therapy because they're struggling with their mental health, everyone deserves empathy and respect. But that is what this relationship is about. I am literally paying you to give me empathy and respect, paying you to help me through my grief, and she deserved that. I love that she is taking action to report. She's taking action to better the field, to say, you know what, there's a problem here and I want to be part of the solution. So kudos to her. I hope that she's healing. I'm so sorry to her for the loss of her precious kitty. I hope that she has found ways to honor them and process through that grief, even despite this experience. Next up is a TikTok from the user susieflowerfarm.
With the pandemic and a lot of the things that happened socially and culturally over the past 3 years, I take it in and take things very much to heart. I guess you could say that I'm a empath, and so a lot of the things that are happening in the world were really getting to me. And I needed some help with that. So through our health insurance, the option that's available to us is this online platform that I'm not going to name. And I made it clear that my issues were kind of some global and cultural issues, and that I was extremely liberal and needed to speak with someone who kind of understood that. So got on the phone with a therapist, and I immediately noticed that she had a Southern accent, and no problem, I used to live in the South, but I was a little bit worried about the liberal part of it. But she immediately kind of looked at my history and said, oh yeah, I'm a blue dot in a red state. So that made me feel a little bit more comfortable. But when I started telling her about the issues, the war in Ukraine had just started, and the insurrection and all this stuff, she basically said to me, she actually did say to me, well, it's the end times, right?
Oh my god. This is so frustrating. Now, before I continue, I want to respectfully ask that you not turn my comment section into a political debate, even if you disagree with this woman's feelings, because we are here to hold space for how she feels, and it is very natural and normal to have this kind of response when there are disturbing things in the news, things that we find upsetting or disturbing. Please do not turn this into a cesspool of invalidation for this woman. Now, finding a therapist who resonates with your cultural and personal values is really, really critical to the therapeutic progress. Now, while it's not necessary for a therapist to agree with everything, having someone who agrees with those core beliefs, or who understands and holds space for those core beliefs, especially when it comes to religion, political affiliation, that sort of thing, can make a huge difference. When this therapist responded to her anxiety by suggesting that it was the end times, they not only failed to address her concerns, but also partook in a form of religious manipulation. This compounded her fears rather than alleviating them, and this is not just unprofessional, this is deeply unethical and goes against the foundational principles of effective therapy.
Seriously.
That's
what she said. So needless to say, I'm afraid now of therapists and therapy, and I do feel like I could use some help, because I've had a few panic attacks in the past few years. Being really vulnerable here and just asking what you would do.
I appreciate this woman's vulnerability here, and this woman being able to talk about this, knowing that people on the internet can get really heated about their politics. And I don't know how old this post is, so I don't know if she has found a different therapist, if she's tried therapy again, if she has found solutions that work for her, things that work for her, but I'm going to address to her and to you guys, in case some of you guys have had similar experiences, number one, there's a couple other things I want to expand upon, but then I'm going to talk about how I would have handled this. Psychologically, anxiety is often a response to perceived threats. And in times of crisis, like a war breaking out or political upheaval, like the Capitol insurrection, these are completely valid feelings. Anxiety is our brain's way, our body's way, our mind's way of saying, hey, something's wrong, so that way we can seek safety, we can seek solutions. A good mental health professional, a good therapist, should help the client by working to validate these emotions and helping them process overwhelming information in a healthy way. Instead of fear-mongering with religious rhetoric here, this therapist should have been providing evidence-based coping strategies that are grounded in cognitive behavioral principles. What the therapist failed to do here was listen empathetically and provide a space where this woman felt understood and supported. Therapy is not about imposing your beliefs on your client. It's about helping clients navigate their emotions in a way that aligns with their beliefs, with their own values. Now, I actually had this after Chester Bennington passed away. I talked to my therapist about it, and my therapist wound up telling me, well, that's really inappropriate that you have those feelings that you're grieving someone you never met, when it was never the therapist's duty to tell me who I should be grieving, but telling me how to do that in a healthy way. It shouldn't be the therapist's job, it isn't the therapist's job to try to tell you whether or not you should have anxiety about a certain thing, but to tell you how to process that, how to get through it, how to manage those symptoms in an effective way. Using religious concepts to instill fear isn't just counterproductive, it is in violation of the therapeutic alliance. If she does find herself now wary of therapy, it's completely understandable. I think we all would be after having an experience like that. But I would say to her and to any of you that have just had a really awful therapy experience or a string of really awful therapy experiences, don't give up. Finding the right therapist can be challenging, but it's so worth the wait and so worth the effort. I'm saying this to her, but also to all of you. You have the right to be selective, to seek out someone who respects your perspectives and who offers support as opposed to imposing their own beliefs. Therapy should be a partnership that's focused on your well-being. It should be rooted in psychological principles, not religious dogma. In the meantime, I'd really encourage her and any of you to explore other forms of support. Now, this might look like an online community like this one. This might look like learning evidence-based anxiety management techniques, or this might look like connecting with like-minded friends. But keep in mind, if you are connecting with a friend about something like this, you want to make sure that you guys are looking for a solution. Yes, there is a certain period where you're going to be validating each other's fears and beliefs and things surrounding this, but also you want to be saying, okay, how can we help each other feel safer? How can we move toward processing this fear as opposed to getting more hysterical and more anxious and more worked up? You want to be working toward figuring out how you can best work through that together, how you guys can stick together to best find a solution. And maybe in her case, this would be volunteering for a cause that she would feel strongly about, like helping the people in Ukraine or something like that. But these can all provide the validation and assistance that she needs. She's not alone, you're not alone, and there are plenty of people who will support her and you guys in a way that aligns with your needs. Next up, we have charliechalkk, and that is with 2 Ks, CHALKK. And like always, I'm going to link all of these in the description below.
So one time I was gaslit by my therapist, and that's why I won't have NHS therapy anymore. So basically, I'm a really self-aware person. I know who I am, I know my thoughts, my feelings, I know what's going on with me. And from really, really young, I knew that something was not quite right up there. I knew that there was something that didn't connect right. I knew there was something that was like just a little off. I was different to everybody else. And I had like a full-blown mental breakdown a good few years ago now. I finally got my shit together enough to go and see a doctor about it. And the doctor was like, that sounds normal. And I was like, it does not sound normal. My brain is wrong. I am wrong. Please help me fix it. Like, help me figure out what is wrong. And he was like, well, I can give you some pills. And I said, well, if you looked at my file, you would know that pills aren't really my thing because they make shit worse. So no thanks, but cheers anyway.
Oh, this is so relatable to me. Not the not being listened to or being told that everything's fine, because in my experience, every mental health professional that I have ever come into contact with has had a laundry list of things that are wrong with me and are biting at the bit to label me with a bazillion different diagnoses. But the jumping immediately to prescribing medication. This is so frustrating because I feel like they don't want to hear that not all of us have a positive reaction to medication. And I've been guinea pigged on dozens of different brand names. Even at kids' doses, it gives me unbearable side effects. I think I'm dying, I start hallucinating, I can't breathe, and the response is always, well, just give it some time, it'll be fine. It is not fine. So in that sense, I can totally relate with it's not fine. I'm not fine. This isn't fine. I can't do this. This isn't normal. This story is a frustrating yet all too common example of how mental health care can go wrong, because this girl bravely reaches out for help, and instead of being met with compassion and understanding, her concerns are just brushed aside by her therapist, and they just say she's fine, and they quickly suggest medication. And this is a classic case of not listening to the client, which is a fundamental breach of trust. They need to be listening when you say, I have tried this and it did not work for me, and I don't want to go down that route again. Can we look into other things? Or this is how I'm feeling. I'm not sure how this ties into gaslighting quite yet. Maybe there's a lot more to the story, but ethically, this is a huge red flag, because patients should feel heard and respected, not dismissed with a prescription slip.
And then he was like, well, I can get you some CBT. So I was like, oh, okay, fuck, I'll try it. And he signed me up for this CBT. You have to wait for like a couple of months to be able to get through to it. So I waited, I got this appointment through. The appointment was for at 8:30 in the morning. Now, when I'm sad, when I'm like breakdown mode, I get into bed like a sloth or like a fucking dead hibernating bear, and I refuse to get out. I will literally ruin my own life for an extra 10 minutes in bed. I will just not turn up to work and shit. It's real good. And I said to them like, oh, thank you so much for this appointment, I appreciate it, but if it's at 8:30 in the morning, I will not turn up. This is part of my problem and part of what I need to deal with. And they were like, well, if you want to help yourself, you will turn up to this appointment. And I was like, I do want to help myself. I probably will not turn up to this appointment. Please change it. And they were like, no, we can't change it. You've got to turn up. If you want to do the work, you will turn up. So I fucking slept through it, as I knew I would. Like, my brain fights with itself. So my brain starts going, you need to get up. You really need to do this. And my body just goes, fuck off.
This is the reason that I structured my life in the way that I did, that I have my dog boarding business, that I have this, that I am for the most part able to structure my schedule based on my energy, based on my mental health, because when I had a standard 8 to 4, 9 to 5 job, I had that exact same problem in my brain that I would fight with myself every single morning. And the worst part is I could go to bed with plenty of time to get a full night's sleep, but my brain would just sit there and do math all night long. Like, if you go to sleep right this very second, you have exactly 8 hours, 12 minutes, and 17 seconds before you have to get up. So what if you don't go to sleep? And it was just this spiral, and no matter what I did to try to manage that, nothing was really effective. So to me, it was, I had to restructure my life to be able to better suit that. And I've had a lot of success with that. My dog business is the best here in the Valley. Obviously, I'm able to help people here in this community. I had to do something that worked for me, with my life, with my energy, with the way my brain worked. So it doesn't just stop with them completely brushing off her concerns that she even has something going on in her brain that isn't working for her, that is off. But now the program that they're enrolling her in was set up to fail from the start. Scheduling her appointments for a time that she knew she couldn't make and then blaming her for it, that is straight up manipulative. They're essentially telling her, if you really wanted to heal, you'd suck up and make this work, completely ignoring the very real barriers that she's facing and that a lot of people struggling with their mental health are facing. When she couldn't attend, then they guilt her, which is adding a whole other layer to someone who is already struggling. So now there's this whole other layer of emotional burden. That is not asking too much to have your appointment scheduled at a time that works for you, whether that's because of your school schedule or because of your energy levels or just because of personal freaking preference. That is not an unreasonable thing to ask.
So then they got really mad at me and they were like, you've just taken an hour away from somebody who really wants to work on themselves. So now I feel like pure shit because I've stolen someone else's counselling session, just not turned up or whatever. And they set me another one And I had to wait the whole time again for like another couple of months. And then by this point it was on Zoom. So I had to do this Zoom thing, and it's only 6 sessions. And I was like, look, I'm here because I am not wired up right upstairs. I know something is wrong. I need to figure out what it is. I need your help to figure out what is not connecting in my brain. And she starts going on about childhood trauma and shit. And I'm like, look, you're going down the wrong route. I've been down here already. This ain't it, honey. Like, I have dealt with a lot of my trauma. I'm actually having a really good life at the minute, and I am still fucking broken. So let's stick to what I want to talk about, which she wouldn't. She carried on down the childhood trauma thing. And then on session 6, she was like, right, we're going to do a questionnaire. I'm going to ask you these questions that basically say, do you think I've fixed you as a person? And I said, absolutely not. I don't feel any closer to being fixed as a person because I still don't know what's wrong with my brain. And she was like, but you've done so well. You're doing so great. You feel so good now. And then she submitted it, so I wasn't entitled to any more CBT. What the fuck?
What the frick indeed. So the cherry on the top of this mess is that when she finally does complete the session, she has the courage to tell this professional, hey, this didn't work for me. And I can say from experience that is something that's really difficult to do for someone who's struggling, because oftentimes we are people pleasers. We don't want to have that confrontation. We don't want to tell someone that they failed at their job or that they didn't meet our expectations or didn't meet our needs. We don't want to say that because it's uncomfortable to have that confrontation. It just breeds more anxiety. So she had the courage to stand up for herself and tell the professional this, for the professional to gaslight her. So this is where the gaslighting comes in, for the professional to literally gaslight her into believing that she was better, and then signed off like the program was a success. Not because our girl here was actually better, but because this looked good on paper for them, because maybe they have some kind of system where they can say, well, this is how many success stories we have, or it might be an issue of they are being audited, their files are being checked to make sure that they have a high enough percentage of people that are having success from these programs. I don't know, but this is where the psychological harm really deepens, because being told that you're better when you're not can make you question your own reality. So that's where the gaslighting comes in. Gaslighting is a term that's used when someone is trying to manipulate you in a way that makes you question your own reality. So of course this ends up leading to further distress. Now legally, this could border on malpractice. I don't know where she's at, but I would be willing to wager that this would be considered malpractice, especially if the treatment was inadequate or the therapist's actions caused additional harm. In short, the situation is a disturbing mix of ethical violations, psychological damage, potential legal violations, and this is all stemming from a system that is prioritizing quick fixes and easy documentation over compassionate care. This is why it's so important to advocate for ourselves and demand better from the professionals that are supposed to be helping us when we're struggling. I've always said that therapy is a great tool, but think about it. Sometimes that might not be the tool you need for that specific job, meaning you might need something completely different than therapy, or you might need something different than that specific professional. So it's completely okay to seek out someone else. Now, it is very unfortunate that we do have long waits. I don't know where she's at, but here in the US, I've known of cases of people being actively ready to self-delete, and they have to wait a year for treatment. And that is awful. And it's important that we are looking at other options, such as online therapy. Although, again, the same thing applies. You have to find someone that meshes with you, someone that aligns with you, someone that's going to give you the respect and service that you deserve, the care that you deserve. But it also means that we have to be advocating for ourselves in our personal life. We have to be doing things that are conducive for our mental health. So while we're waiting, we are taking action. We're empowering ourselves. Now, I totally agree with her that there are times where you can't force yourself to get out of bed, regardless of what you know could be helpful toward you. You can't manage to get out of bed. But there are a lot of things that you can do right from your bed that can help you with your mental health. That's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, consider sharing it, leave your therapy experiences in the comments below. And if you want to submit a therapy fails to me, the instructions on how to do so are in the description below. As always, keep sharing your mental health stories here in the comments, good, bad, and crazy. That's how we shatter the mental health stigma, is by talking about it. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you soon. Mwah.